Well, hello everyone. I am Amy Palvido, and this is the Data Center News Show. And I wanted to have a show today about data center markets, and I invited all my broker friends to come on the show. And guess what? It's typical. No, it's not typical. It's just what's happening in the industry right now. They're busier than hell. So I'm going to cover the news. We're going to go through it real quickly, and this will be a short show today. But I didn't want to not have a show because, you'll see me every week. So I'm going to share with you the top 10 US states with power grids that might be able to take, they have a little bit more room than others because in the data center industry, if you do not know, it takes power in order to have a data center. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why this stupid article is stupid, and then we're going to get into kind of what I'm seeing in the markets, me, myself, and I, and talk about other things that are happening. So let's get in it. All right. So there's an article today, or no, it came out hot off the press, y'all. Hot off the press, came out 2 days ago, and it was in the one of the greatest news networks that knows about data centers, which is CNBC. So I love when CNBC wants to join in on the data center game. So we're going to talk through it. So it is the 10 US states that are best positioned with electricity to power the AI data center boom. And we have number one, and I'll just go through them real quick: Washington State, New Mexico, Montana, North Dakota, Idaho, South Dakota, and Utah, and so Wyoming, Iowa, Nebraska. Those are the 10. Those are the 10 that are actually have the 10 states with the most unconstrained power available, according to CNBC, which is fine and great and lovely. But the trend that's happening now in the data center industry is not to locate data centers out. There used to be where you would check out for cheap power, and you would locate a data center there. And then there was this kind of overwhelming trend. Well, it doesn't matter where the cheap power is, we just need power, right? And now I'm starting to see where data centers are actually looking for stuff closer into metro areas as and AI inferencing becomes a more popular use case for leasing out data center space. So a lot of the data center developments are being put closer and closer to metro areas. They call them edge computing. So this list that CNBC came out with kind of contradicts. Yes, while there's power there, I'm not sure if the data center developments are going there. It's really kind of the ones that you see getting announced are closer into metro areas, maybe 30, 45 minutes outside of a metro area. Some are inside the metro area. And that's kind of what the data center developers are looking for. So I find it kind of interesting that this article was taken out, but it is what it is. Everybody wants to talk about data centers. We are the golden. It is the golden moment of the data center age. The next topic we're going to talk about is the number of developments that are happening in the data center industry. So I don't know if you know, but that was announced, and this was as of July 14th, a couple days ago. The number of new developments that were announced in the United States, new data center developments that were actually went to the presses that they were announcing that they were going to build, is 178 in the United States alone. I mean, that's just a phenomenal amount of data centers that are being built. And the amount of gigawatts that they were going to consume was close to 50. 50, y'all. Gigawatts, not megawatts, gigawatts. So that is a lot of damn power, and that is a lot of pushing dirt. So I am. It's great to see this in the industry for sure, definitely for sure. But it's going to be an interesting ride over the next couple of years. Now, when you announce a data center development, one of the things you need to know as a news connoisseur of the data center industry is a lot of those data center developments are definitely years away. And sometimes you'll see where Google will pull out a data center development. Like they'll say, oh, yeah, we've got Google's going to take and acquire this land and they're going to do this. And then they will pull out. So that's normal course par for course of the business in the data center industry. So you just need to understand that. So don't take into account that anything that's happening right now in the industry as, oh, Google's not going to do what they say they're going to do. Yes, they all go get sites. They'll all go commit to sites. They'll all go find sites, get them under contract, because what happens is they'll go find a site, get it under contract, and then they have to go through this process for about a year to um to ferret out whether they're going to be able to get available power or not. And if they can't get the power, then they'll back out of the deal. So there's a lot of these announcements of, so 178 announcements over the year might not turn into 178 projects. You just need to understand that. So there's a lot of hype going on in the data center industry. So that's here nor there, good or bad. But it is coming probably to a town near you if you live in a metro area. I did want to announce that yours truly is going to be at a couple conferences coming up, and apparently I'm just going to need to live in Vegas for the month of September. But I will be speaking at the Data Center Dynamics YATA conference, and I'm going to say YATA for my buddy George Rocket, and even though everybody else pronounces it Yada. I will be speaking there. And then also, I will be hosting a data center summit at Blueprint Vegas. And I'm excited about the Blueprint Vegas conference because this is really designed for new investors into the space, or typical traditional real estate investors that are trying to dip their toe into the data center world. We'll have two panels on the first day of Blueprint, starting at I think it's September 16th, starting at 3 o'clock. And we're going to talk through this. Like, if you're a real estate investor, never invested into data centers, and you want to, like, how do I do this? How do I find sites? How do I, like, and maybe crazy town want to develop a data center? How do you do that? So I'm going to have two experts come on talking about site selection, or even if you just wanted to see if your building that you have now might be data center worthy. We're going to have two panels at Blueprint Vegas, September 16th, and that one is at the Venetian. And I will also be at Yada on September the 8th through the 10th. And apparently, Yavis Perez, my buddy in Vegas, I'm coming to stay at your house, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. So it's interesting. So when we talk through data center developments and everything that you need to understand that's going on in the space, or markets that are going on, the top markets are generally the top markets, right? Nova, like Loudoun County, like Virginia is building tons and tons of data centers, right? Chicago, Dallas. And yeah, I always find it funny that Austin is technically not a tier one data center. It's like a tier two or whatever it might be. I always find that hilarious. So, but all the markets that I'm talking about are US based. But guess what? I have a buddy who decided to join us today. He's one of the brokers who isn't slam busy. No, he's busy. He's just nicer. He's coming on a show because he's nice. Everybody else is like, nah, if I can't make it, I'm not gonna be able to do it. But
Sorry.
Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great. And apologies, I'll be extra nice. Apologies, I'm late.
You Canadians are always like super nice. Like, you're like
always nice and apologizing. I know.
For sure. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show. Like, Howie and everybody else is like, man, I'm slammed today. I can't make it. So But I'm glad you're here. So, because you're going to bring a different perspective. We haven't had a Canadian broker on the show, so this is super awesome. Can't
Yeah.
wait to have you. All right, so I was talking about the U.S. markets, and I let off the show. I don't know if you get to saw, and I'll kind of read. So there was an article. I always find it funny when CNBC tries to do data center news,
Oh
but
yeah.
CNBC wrote an article about the top 10 states that are poised for new data center growth, right? And guess what? They're all states. The only one that made sense was maybe New Mexico and maybe Washington State because of Seattle, but it's like North Dakota, Iowa, like they're not near any of like the NFL cities. And so I found the article a little misleading, unless here's, I'm glad you're here. Are Canadian data centers pulling power from the US? Do y'all pull power out of the US for anything?
No, it's actually the opposite. So Canada is providing power into
The United
into
States,
the
right?
U.S.
Yeah.
So we have significant power contracts from, states like Quebec and Ontario are providing megawatts or gigawatts of capacity into the U.S.
See, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
there was 10 states, like North Dakota, New Mexico. I just kind of went through them, but none of them made sense for me because right now what's happening, and you might see it too, is a lot of the data centers are wanting to be closer into metro areas for AI inferencing and all this other
Mhm.
stuff. So sticking them out in Timbuktu does not make sense anymore. That shift started happening. I started noticing that like earlier this year, maybe, like where people were
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, we're gonna go stick one in North Dakota. And the theme was, and I kept hearing the theme was, oh, we want cheap power. Oh, we want cheap power.
Mhm.
And then it went to, oh, we just want power. To, oh, no, we need to be in a city. And that happened
Yeah.
super fast. Like that happened super fast, which I thought,
Oh yeah.
for an industry for sure, right? Do you see the same thing or no?
Absolutely. I mean, the ground has really been shifting against under everybody's feet,
Yeah.
especially the last 12 to 18 months. I mean, we went from, I had a requirement that we were working on. It went from working in a single metro area, call it 50-kilometer radius,
Mhm.
to like over the course of 6 months, they increased it to 150 miles. And then it went
Wow.
back down to 50,
I
50
know, right?
kilometers. So it was kind of slingshotting around, and everybody was trying to like find are there pathways to quick power if we increase our geographic search area, which a lot of groups have done that. Uh, but I think the safer bets have always been kind of closer to those key metro areas. I think the theory is that it's going to shift from training to inference, and
Mhm.
that's what everybody's tracking. And so when you see that shift back to inference, it still needs to be closer to the eyeballs, right? So what's going to happen to those sites further out? And in Canada, we're seeing the exact same thing. I've been tracking all of the applications for power
Mhm.
across all the provinces, and like if you take the geographies of where data centers are constructed today in
Mhm.
Canadian cities, pretty tight geography, but then the applications are probably 10 times that radius right now.
Right. Yeah.
And bigger than the entire market together. We're still a 1 gigawatt market in Canada. That's all of Canada.
Oh my God.
I know.
Really?
Yeah, I know. We're a smaller market, right? We really
That's
are.
crazy.
It's 1 gigawatt, but applications for power in
Uh-huh.
Alberta alone
Uh-huh.
were over 16 gigawatts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, y'all need to catch up, man. Like, come
We're
on.
working
Like,
on it. Yeah, we're doing what we can.
yeah, all right. So introduce yourself. You just jumped in and started answering questions. Introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
lovely listener to the Data Center News Show.
So Michael Boron, I'm with Cushman & Wakefield's Global Group. I'm based out of Toronto, and I'm sure most people watching are familiar with what a data center broker does. But I'm based out of the Toronto region. I cover most of Canada, but we also bring our clients wherever they need to go. So we're no strangers to doing deals in the U.S. or representing co-location
Well, yeah, because Cushwake is everywhere,
tenants.
right?
And
Yeah, yeah. Cushwake is everywhere. Cushwake is everywhere. You
yeah,
know,
we're all over the place.
all over the place. Yeah, I don't know for sure. That's awesome. Very cool. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more about on this whole phenomena, like the changing, I don't know, moving goalposts or whatever you're talking about on the data center side, are you seeing any sort of like smaller data centers coming back into play? Like, it used to be we need a gigawatt of a data center now. I think because the rack densities are getting to where they are, you're not necessarily needing as much space. Maybe you still
Yeah,
need like a gigawatt of power, but you only need like 10 acres now or 20 acres now, where
yeah,
before you needed like 100, right? Or is that you're seeing those too?
yeah. We're definitely seeing a decline in space required. Heavier focus on how much power you can get to a site, basically increasing the number of megawatts per acre that you're able to get, which has its own set of challenges.
Yep.
But I have certainly seen smaller data centers coming back. I mean, again, but going back to Canada being a smaller market, a lot of our facilities on average are smaller,
Yeah.
just because we saw wholesale data center capacity come later to Canadian markets. So historically, we've always had smaller facility sizes.
Mhm.
But then, like where we've seen it really explode more recently is in Quebec. So Quebec has obviously some fairly significant and public power constraints more recently, and there was a regulatory limit of 5 megawatts that if there's less thresholds that you had to effectively, we won't get into it too deep, but there's less thresholds if you're under 5 megawatts. So we saw
Yeah.
a number of different groups say, you know what, we can't get 10, 20, 50 megawatts, but let's do 5. And they've had decent success doing those smaller sites. I mean, you lose some economies of scale
Yeah.
working on it, but I mean, it's worth it to be in Quebec because they have 100% hydroelectric energy, and it's extremely cheap as well. I mean, I believe it translates to about 4.5 cents US per kilowatt
Oh,
hour.
wow, that is cheap. Yeah,
Great
you can't
market
get
to be
anything 4.5 cents in the US. Not even in Texas. You used to. Not anymore.
in. Yeah,
Not anymore. I
exactly.
mean, but y'all are super gassy. Like we're gassy in Texas too. Like we have a lot of natural gas. Y'all have a ton of natural gas.
Yeah, Alberta.
That's
Alberta
interesting.
is where our gas is. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this, I wouldn't be surprised, and we can talk about this topic too. And I've had conversations with other countries about this, but how, and this might really play into the data center market in Canada, especially if you've got cheap power. This concept of a data embassy. So I talked with a group out of India, and they brought this to our attention. So there's this U.S. India Strategic Partnership Forum, and they brought it to my attention, and we were going to have a conversation because they're talking about the Dubai and the UAE and all those things in this conversation around the concept of a data embassy. A lot of the customers of data centers want their data housed in the country of origin. Like they would, like if it's a
Mhm.
US company, we want our data in the US. Like don't F with it, don't stick it anywhere else. It has to be in the US. Well, we're constrained here, right, in the United States. And I think our constraints will stay for a while because we are growing so fast. But what if we could put a data center in Canada that would abide, and that data center would be an embassy in the fact that it would abide by US law?
Hmm.
And could we create some sort of partnership from in that sense? And then that it becomes a data embassy. So therefore the US companies will then go and, be okay with, having their data sitting in Canada on Canadian soil. It's kind of it's different. It's
Yeah.
completely different. It's completely theoretical, but it might work, right? I mean, we're building them as fast as we can here, but we're power constrained. We're not going to get
Mhm.
them. I mean, you've got 100. We had 178 data centers that have announced that they're going to be in development. 178.
Yeah.
So, and they're not going to get built for the next 5 years or whatever. They probably already have leases signed on every single one of those, or maybe like maybe half of them, or
Yeah.
like or waiting lists for the ability to do that compute, right? And so I just find it completely interesting. So I don't know. What do you think about
I,
a data embassy?
I think it's a really interesting idea. I think it would be a tough lift on a like just federal regulatory
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, we do have a Canadian government that is a lot more focused on data center than the previous administration. They've publicly said that they want to support the industry's growth, and that's at both provincial and federal levels. So there's a number of strategies that they're working on to try and attract more data center investment. I don't believe that a data center embassy is on that list, but if I were to pursue it, I mean, some of the larger projects that they're looking at in places like Alberta, which would include a lot of them, they want to do self-generation because, I mean, it's our version of Texas, right? Deregulated market. That's where all of the oil and gas is. So if they can do some kind of standalone site that checks a lot of those boxes, I mean, it would certainly open up a lot more interest in Canadian markets as well, because there are groups that they're familiar with U.S. data residency laws, and they want to continue being in the U.S. and they don't want to have to deal with the laws of a different country. So perhaps there's just more of a conversation on aligning the two countries' regulations and ensuring that they're the same. I mean, for one thing, on data use, like Canada tends to kind of be in the middle of the US and Europe in terms of just privacy regulation, which I think has always been something that kind of slows down growth or interest in the Canadian market a bit, because the US is a bit more use what you can. And if we had more of a clear policy stance, I think it would generate a lot more interest, especially from like AI and GPU clusters that, I mean, we don't have any like huge 100, 200 megawatt clusters that have been developed yet in Canada. And that might be one of the things that helps us get one.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And I mean, I bet the PUE is better because it's damn cold up there. Like, especially
free cooling days. Gotta love it.
Yeah, for sure. But as long as so Montreal is fairly close to New York, right? I mean, like, and you've got some of the like, I guess, I mean, Winnipeg it's not close to the Twin Cities, but it's close to kind of Fargo. But, and then you got Seattle and Vancouver. I mean, there's several, like, from a latency perspective, maybe not AI inferencing, but maybe training, right? We still have to do training like, we're not going to stop training models. Like, come on, like, we're not all going inferencing, but
for sure.
So for training some stuff, I mean, like, it might not be bad, right? And then you can do a lot of different things. I mean, we haven't even gotten even close to the first inning or second inning on LLMs yet. Like, have to do a lot more training, because DeepSeek's out there and they're just like going at it, like, and they're going to come out with DeepSeek 5 before anybody else comes out, and they were at 1, like, so it's going to be interesting for sure. But that's super cool. So from another thing, so on the broker side for you, let's talk about, I want to see if it's similar to the US. So let's talk about, you've got somebody who's got a land site, and for some reason, okay, so you're a small market. Maybe they got 10 megawatts of available power. Maybe, right? So that's a bigger site for y'all. I don't know what the constraints are. Or maybe it's 5. They finally magically found 5 megawatts. So what I'm hearing on a broker side is, this is what it looks like for a landowner. You're Farmer Joe, and this cute little, data center broker named Michael Boren calls you and says, "Hey, you want to sell your land?" Right? And he goes, "Yeah, no, my kids don't want to take over the farm. So sure, I'll sell the land." Are you tying it up for 18 months to figure out whether there's power availability? Is this a normal cycle on a land? Is it 18 months or so so you can get your utility provider to commit, oh yeah, we'll give you that kind of load ramp schedule or whatever? What does it look like for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, different clients have different processes that they'll go through, but we have tied up sites for 18 months with the intention of securing power prior to closing. I mean, obviously that's not your typical land transaction, where most would prefer to be fully closed in 90 days.
Right.
So, I mean, it really takes them some finesse, especially if you are dealing with Farmer Joe, where he's not necessarily familiar with like how a data center land transaction would typically work. It's, I mean, one of the bigger challenges that we face is always when people hear the word data center, sometimes they start expecting a much higher premium, which is not always necessarily the case, right? If there's no infrastructure in place and you as the data center developer are the one that is having to take all of the risk on getting power, take all of the risk on building up fiber infrastructure, how long is it from being development ready? Like, those are all things that factor into what kind of typical market premium you could expect for a site like that. Or could I just call your neighbor? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. It's usually they 5x it, right? Oh, I was selling it at whatever, and now I want 5 times more, right? And it's or I mean, we face this in the U.S. too. Like, there's some unsophisticated broker who is listing the home, and they all put multifamily down, like they think it's a multifamily site or whatever. And then someone comes along and they don't know any better, and I ain't telling them. Sure, I'll buy it for that. No problem. Full price, because I know I can turn around and sell it for 400 grand a megawatt, right? Or something like that. And, and just land bank it, and just, and do some of those things. But, or they, then the broker or another broker calls them, or they'll get a phone call. I've heard this story too. They'll get a phone call from Farmer Joe. They'll actually look up data center broker, and they'll get a phone call from Farmer Joe going, hey, I had this guy call me and he wanted to buy my land for, 20 million, which I thought was insane. I just want to make sure, is that legit? And you're like, yeah, buddy, it's probably worth 40.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we've had a few of those calls, either partners or former clients in the past, where they've said like, hey, we've got a data center group looking to buy our land. Like, are we selling it for the right price?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they're pretty close to closing, and we say, it's a great question, but you're pretty much done the deal, right?
Right.
But, it just shows how much interest is on the industry right now. Like, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I mean, I've never gotten more phone calls from like unsolicited prospects or landowners that are trying to understand how they can participate in the industry.
True. Yeah, no, for true. I will plug my little company in the fact that we actually had worked on a site selection tool, and now and we haven't launched it yet. It's getting close, y'all, if you're paying attention, but you'll be able to go to my website and put in your address, and I'll be able to say, I'll give you a score on whether we think it's data center worthy or not. So we will have that eventually, probably. Come on, my dev team. Come on, dev team, hurry up. But we've been testing it for a while now, so we're getting closer, which is
that's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. And it's really just not meant to be like on the enterprise side or the data center developer side. It's really to help people, from a landowner perspective, to make sure they're not getting, shafted in the fact that, because there are opportunistic people, and I would be too. Like, if I found a site and they think it's for multifamily and they're willing to sell it to me for 10,000 an acre, okay, sure, I'll pay you 10,000 an acre. But yeah. There's nothing like that. That was a total. There's nothing for sale for 10,000 an acre in Texas, by the way. Nothing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I apologize, Amy. I do have to drop for.
This has been great. So you got me to the end of the show, which is awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely. Have a great one. Bye.
I will see you. So, yes. So, the life of a data center broker. They're all busy. Thanks to Michael from Cushwick, and he's based in, I think it was Toronto. He's Canadian. It's all the same. I'm just kidding. It's not all the same. This has been a show of the U.S. PropTech Council. Next week, we are going to be talking data center cooling. It'll be a great show. We're going to have 3 or 4 experts talking about data center cooling. Why you should care about data center cooling is because guess what cools a data center? It's water. And so if a data center is coming to a town near you, you're going to want to know how much water they're going to be using. And there's newer technologies out there now where they're not using as much water, which is great. So that's super cool. And also, when they use water efficiently and we can cool the data centers more efficiently, they use less power. So they won't have to, take up so much power so we can build some houses and have power. So that's next week. Data center cooling next week. We'll have 3 or 4 experts on. This has been the Data Center News Show. Thanks for everybody for watching, and we'll see y'all next week. Have a good one.